Today's video, I'm going to show you how to add multiple objects onto a bed and then how to adjust settings for each object. And after that, I'm going to go into a little more detail about my use case and show you a little bit more about how to really dial in those settings using an example of printing glass PETG. So let's just say that you've got all your calibration dialed in, and if you haven't yet, I'll post a video about the flow rate calibration as well as the temp tower calibration. I'll put those up here. But let's say you're pretty happy with how well your printer is doing, but you want to just get it a little more dialed in. Well, you can do multiple things. So you can just clone this and arrange them how you'd like, or you could click Fill Bed with Copies. And that is going to fill up your entire bed with as many benchies as you'd like. You can then click each benchy and then click into objects, and you can change the settings that you'd like right here. So you could, for example, you could change the top surface pattern, you can change the infill density. This might be really nice if you're like making your own product and you want to get the weight or the strength just right. You can go through and change it for all of these. And now I'm going to show you a little bit of an easier way to do that. So let's just say you want to go and you want to make that infill density different for each one. So you can just click through here, choose each one, go 5, 10, 15, and so on. Or you could adjust your layer height. Really any of those settings down here you can change. And let me show you just another thing. Let's pretend that you actually think this is too many benchies and you just want to test 6 settings, but you don't want to, have to arrange them all on your own. Or let's just say less. You want less benchies. So you could change your spacing to make the spacing higher, and this will give you less benchies on this plate. To get rid of the other benchies, you just select here, delete all, and you can delete your plate. So now to go on to kind of a little more advanced or custom calibration. So for me, I want to make clear PETG. I want to print, basically I'm trying to print glass. So the clear PETG is at 100% infill and it's completely see-through. So I'm just going to edit this just so that I remember. So after I make this, if I decide, I can just save this file. So the issue I was running into here is that with your calibration, when you do your flow rate, there's gaps. So it's not 100% infill and you can't change that setting. So I'm going to make my own model, which is just going to be a simple cube. I might actually end up making it a disk, but for this we'll go with a cube. But I do want it to be not as tall, and I also want it to be a very specific height. So you want to make sure you're not on uniform scale unless you want it to be the same dimension each way around. I want to do 6 by 21 by 21, and I think that's going to be good for me just because with I'm testing out layer height, layer width, and I think that's a pretty nice size. As well as I don't have to wait for it to print the whole thing if some of the settings aren't working. So now I'm going to do that same thing, fill bed with copies. Actually my spacing, I wanted a few more on there. Fill bed with copies, don't like that. Okay, oof. So I'm just going to delete these all and we'll start again. Great. So I think that's pretty good. And now to show you kind of, not a more advanced way, but really what I was trying to do is trying to get my temperature settings in for a large plate. and you're not able to do that through any of these settings. But there is kind of a sneaky workaround. You can change the filament type on these if you have multiple filaments here. So we're just going to add multiple filaments, and that way I can print like one row of them getting the temperature dialed in, another row with the flow rate, another row with the extrusion, another row with the layer height. So we can kind of use this to dial in all of our settings. And I haven't got it all figured out yet, but I want it to be something where if I make it and you download it, you can get that 3MF file, you run your translucent or transparent filament, and you'll just be able to say, like, that one looked the best. Those are the settings I'm going to use. So to do that, now that you have your filament here, you could either do it right here. It's just weird, you have to kind of like click it a couple times. Oh no. I broke it. Okay, pause. I'm going to try to get back in. Okay, so we're back in. Let me go back to what we were doing. And so, like I said, you can change that here. You can go to your object. You can click on your filament. And then you can click on it again, and it'll give you the options of the filament. And as you probably know, you can either select a setting you've already made, or let's just say this one. I actually want to say I want this one to be 250 and 255. It doesn't really make sense, but let's just pretend. And then there we go, we got it in here. Let's see, where is the cube one? And it should also change the color of my cube. So there we go, once you click off of it. So hopefully this video helps if you're trying to dial in your settings using a large build plate. I think it would be really helpful, especially for somebody who is making like the same model over and over and over, because then you can just print a whole tray of them and you can say, this one's my best one, those are the settings I'm going to use going forward. Thank you so much for watching this Rando Tech Nerd video. If you have any questions about this process, any comments, or you think there's a better way to do it, I'd be very happy to know about it in the comments. And I will be working on this glass PETG. I have made a pretty nice little glass panel, and I'll put the short link right up here. And when I do get this all worked out, I will post a video as well as a 3MF and a little bit of a tutorial. So if that's something you're interested in, consider subscribing. And eventually what I want to do is I want to kind of use it to make multicolor, transparent and translucent designs, kind of like stained glass. So I'm hoping that that'll be something that I get more into in the future. And I really appreciate you checking out my channel. I hope you all have a wonderful 2025.